And everything is going to the beat. And everything is going to the beat. And everything is going
Hey guys, and welcome to Variety Radio Online, bringing you all things entertainment, including news, reviews, and interviews. I'm your host Keisha, and I'm going to talk to you guys about The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which was amazing. Loved every second of it. It was the quintessential blockbuster film, but it also packed an emotional punch. Okay, we have to talk about the cast. Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker slash Spider-Man was amazing. I felt every laugh, every cry, every bit of self-doubt and awkwardness, and I felt like he really elevated the character this time around and took it to a whole different level. Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy, she was smart, charismatic, and I really felt her in this movie. My heart broke for everything that she had to go through, and spoiler alert, at the end, just it's gonna rip your heart out. Jamie Foxx as Max Dillon slash Electro, I'm ambivalent about him because I thought he was very vulnerable and yet at times annoying. I felt like, but that's the character. He is this guy who goes unnoticed in the world, and he built this power grid and doesn't get credit for it, and he's just walking around being a pushover. So half the movie I was like, come on guy, get over it. Just say, do something. And then he tries to destroy the city, so then that shut me up real quick. Paul Giamatti as the bad guy. What's his name? Oh, something. No, it's Alexei Sistevich. I don't think I said that correctly, but I thought he was a great surprise. Always loved to see Paul Giamatti in a movie. The biggest breakout for me was Dane DeHaan as Harry Osborn. He was vulnerable. He was fresh. He was likable at parts, and he was diabolical and psychotic and so many things, and he was just a pleasure to watch. He was so refreshing, and I gotta give it up to him because he made me interested in the character of Harry Osborn, and that had not happened before. I really didn't care for the characters, so for him to do that was just awesome. The visuals for this movie were stunning. Forget about the sweeping shots for New York for a second. Let's talk about the graphics. This is the first time that I've seen the Spider-Man suit not glued onto his body. It moved with him. It looked like a real suit, which it was a real suit. But anyway, I mean, him flying through the air, I'm sure that was CGI'd, and oh my goodness, to see the small movement in the small of his back, that impressed me and stayed with me. And Electro, man, talk about cutting edge graphics. I mean, this guy looks like a giant electrical Kermit Kermit the Frog, but no, an electrical current and a human at the same time. It was really weird because he looked like Jamie Foxx's body, but he also looked like a giant Christmas light. And that's a really poor way of saying it because the way they did it, they made it look so realistic and so scary at the same time. And I can only imagine the hundreds of hours it took at the computer just getting every detail correct because, man, that was so realistic and spot on. This was definitely one of the least problematic movies I've seen in a long time. Gwen Stacy is such a great character. She's smart and she's headstrong, she's valedictorian, and I loved at the very beginning of the movie, Peter Parker's about to break up with her for the millionth time, saying, I can't do this, I gotta protect you, and she's like, no, I'm not gonna do this over and over again, I can't live like this, I'm breaking up with you, and she does it and walks off. It was such a great moment. Sorry, Peter Parker, but I just felt like that was awesome, and you don't get to see that often. And later on in the film, Peter Parker tries to protect her yet again, when he glues her hand to the car to prevent her from going with him to defeat Electro, even though she is the only one who really knew how to reset the grid after Electro knocked out the power in New York City. So she cuts herself out of the web. She doesn't hurt herself. And she's like, really? Are you going to do this to me right now? They have this argument in the middle of the fight. And I thought that was a fun moment too. But she really stood her ground. And what really resonated with me was when she said, no, this is my decision. Mine. And she kept saying mine. And I felt like that was for every woman in every previous superhero film that was put to the side, and she's like, no, I'm not going to take a backseat. I'm smart, I have a brain, I know what I'm doing, I'm going to help out. If we're going to live this life together, then let me help you. Stop shutting me out. So I thought that was a great feminist moment, and I'm really going to miss her character. She was great. The biggest thing that bothered me about this movie was Dr. Kafka. Like, I looked up the actor list, and I was excited to see Martin Chokas in the film. And you guys will know him as Celeborn in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and he's also in Triple X. But the Dr. Kafka, the real name is Dr. Ashley Kafka, and the character is a woman. And this character was replaced by a man in this film, and I know I said this was the least problematic, but this is the most problematic element of this film. Women are already underrepresented in film, so I felt like this was just a bad choice. They could have gone with a woman and kept the character like that, but, that's just another example of Hollywood thinking a man can do the job. I don't know, but that rubbed me the wrong way. But don't get me wrong, I still felt like there were feminist moments in this film, but this was not one of them. I think another thing that threw me off about this movie was Spider-Man's grand gesture when he webs "I love you" on the Brooklyn Bridge. I thought that was a really, really big gesture and very public for a guy who's trying to keep his personal life private. So I thought that was very strange, but a very sweet moment, and I thought it was romantic as well. But at the same time, I'm like, Peter, are you really trying to give up your identity? What's going on here? It was different. It was really cool. And I looked at the people behind it, and you had Johnny Marr, you have Hans Zimmer, who's been on every soundtrack from Pirates of the Caribbean to The Holiday, and then what? Pharrell Williams. So that explains why it was so unique and just fun. And at the very end of the credits, they have this song by Kendrick Lamar and Alicia Keys called "It's On Now," and I think that's my new jam because I felt so pumped after watching this movie, and I was bopping my head in the theater looking like a fool, but I didn't care because this soundtrack was just awesome. Overall, I really love this movie. I thought it was modern. You see Peter Parker has an iPhone. You see the date 2014. And even in the dialogue and the way that Harry Osborn and Peter Parker communicate, it's very now, very fresh and very relevant. And I felt like this movie spoke to me more than any other Spider-Man movie before. I've never cried at a Spider-Man movie, and there were two moments. One, when Gwen Stacy's body slams to that ground, and after that she's dead. It was so quick and unexpected, and I had to sip my water and pretend that I was laughing because it was, oh my gosh, it was heartbreaking, and it was so realistic. It could have happened to anybody. I mean, yeah, of course, if Spider-Man were real, that really could have happened. And the second moment, which I didn't expect to cry, was when Spider-Man, after Gwen's funeral, he goes MIA for 5 months, and this little boy who saw Spider-Man one time, and I think he helped save him or talk to him, he has his little Spider-Man suit on, and Rhino, Paul Giamatti's character, comes back, breaks out of prison or whatever he was in, and he's about to attack the city, and the little boy just runs behind the barricade in front of the gunfire and is like, I'm Spider-Man. And I wanted to cry so hard because it was like, where's Spider-Man? This little boy is so brave, and Rhino's like, haha, so you're Spider-Man. And he's like, yeah, I am. Or I forget exactly what he said, but it was along those lines of, yeah, I'm Spider-Man. And then all of a sudden, Spider-Man appears behind him, and it was just like, oh, such a sweet moment. And it's things like that where it's not just action, it's fun. You see Peter Parker making jokes and pulling down people's pants and really having fun with his superhero duties, and it's emotional and it's raw and it's real, and this just felt so current. And yeah, I definitely give this movie an A minus. It would have gotten an A plus had they not replaced the female character. But other than that, music, cast, everybody, costume, visual effects, cinematography, everything was spot on. If you haven't seen the movie, go and see it. Well, I think that's the end of the episode. Thank you guys for listening. If you want to keep up with me or the VRO, links in the description. Thanks again, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!
And everything is going to the beat. And everything is going to the